You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
I think that a good scare roots you in your body.
The feeling of just that, like, jolt in your body.
It gives you a sense of, like, a shock or a thrill that resonates throughout you.
That adrenaline just, I live for it.
And that reminds us that we're alive.
It's that time of year again, my good goblins and ghouls, where we celebrate All Hallows Eve. Well, a few days early, but you get me. We've gathered together a professional scare actor. Yes, he gets paid to scare people. A Friday the 13th superfan. A few dinosaurs. Literal dinosaurs, not just old people like me. And even a ghost or two. So the question is, are you brave enough to join us?
Happy Halloween. I'm Michael Bergman, and you're entering a world gone scary good.
Happy Halloween. I'm Stephanie Coggins, and you're entering a world gone spooky good.
Well, hello, my name's Steve, and this is the place where we shine the light on everyday people, making good happen each and every day. Welcome to World Gone Good with a Halloween twist. Today, we celebrate the good of things that go bump in the night, jump scares, and friends from high school who seem to be aging faster than we are. You know you do this. You look at your friend on Facebook or Instagram and you're all, damn, they got old. Then you catch a side angle of yourself in your bathroom mirror and find yourself in the fetal position on the floor, rocking back and forth, wailing, why? Why? It's like a scary movie itself, right? Huh. That took an unexpected turn now, didn't it? Okay, moving on. A little bit about me. I love the month of October. I love a good ghost story and a clever costume. I love candy. Oh yeah, I'll ring your bell on the 31st with zero shame for free candy. Do not judge me. So for this special Halloween-themed episode, we are diving deep into the good bubbling cauldron of boo and wah-ha-ha-has to find out what is good about a good scare. And what better place to begin than by discovering a thrilling After Dark Halloween trail full of surprises. As you know, we are now coming to you from London, where we headed over to Kew Gardens for Halloween at Kew. They have transformed their lovely gardens into a ghostly, glowing adventure where you wind through haunted woods, there's a cemetery, and there's even a mad scientist's laboratory. Not laboratory. Scary times require us to say laboratory.
You don't need that here anymore, do you? Do you? I'll give you a new one. Straight from my grandmother. She was great.
Oh, nice.
Really good ear. Okay. Does it believe me? But no.
Oh.
I don't even have to take yours. I can just put it right on your forehead. You have two noses.
That there was the mad scientist who misplaced not just some ears and noses, but also his own creation. Fear not, we made it around this turn on the path, and there he was, the monster, wandering about. Halloween at Q runs until November 2nd, but never you worry if you can't make it in person. Go ahead right now and close your eyes for just a minute, because we got some audios for you to feel like you're there. Just like move your legs, or if you're walking, like don't walk in it. Just rotate your legs a little bit. You pretend like you're walking through it. It was really fun, and we got our steps in, so it was a win-win. The mad scientist you heard was just one of a handful of scare actors on hand. Yes, you heard me right. Scare actors. It's a thing. People who are paid to scare people. And I'm not talking about Enid in accounting sneaking up to your cubicle with your monthly expenditures to harass you about line item number 14. You know what I'm talking about. We don't want to discuss line item number 14. Michael Bergman knows what I'm talking about. Here he comes to share his spooky goodness. Well, this is a spooky time, but it's also a day of reckoning, and I'm going to tell you why. Because previously on World Gone Good, a long time ago, Ava Bergman did a show called Musicals Gone Good. And just 2-3 weeks ago on our season premiere, Jack Bergman sang us in with his new song, I'll Be Here, I'm still here. I've already forgot the fucking name of it. I'll look it up. But the point is, I got the oldest Bergman, I got the youngest Bergman, and now today, I have the middle Bergman, which means the coven is complete.
You've collected them all.
I've collected them all. The reckoning can begin.
Let's go.
Let's start here. Mr. Michael, I have a question for you, and just be honest here. What's good about getting scared?
Oh my gosh. There's something about it with me that I love. Me and my brother Jack, who did the song I'll Be Here, go to Universal Horror Nights all the time, and we're like addicted to it. It's like our highlight of the year. I just love the feeling of just that like jolt in your body.
It's exciting, right? It's a rush.
That adrenaline, just I live for it.
So much so that you have taken on a job
Yes.
doing.
I'm a scare actor over at Knott's Scary Farm, originally during the year Knott's Berry Farm over in Buena Park, California.
That's amazing. How did you get this job?
I was fresh out of college and I was just scrolling for jobs on LinkedIn because I'm a film major, so I was looking for film jobs, actor jobs, and I came across a scare actor needed at Knott's Scary Farm. And as I said, me and my brother are huge horror park fans, so this has been a dream of mine for at least 10 years. So getting to live it out is literally a dream come true.
All right, so what was the process? You filled out an application, you sent it in, they had you come down.
I actually was a little bit late. I was what was listed as an overhire at first. I was scared that it was going to mean I wasn't going to be scare acting full time, but they ended up throwing me in anyway. But I applied online, and since it was a little bit late, I had to audition over Zoom. So I was in my room, and the audition process was really fun. And it was very quick too. It was only like 5 minutes, where for 2 minutes they said walk around like an improvised monster without using any sound. And then after 2 minutes, they said, now act like a scary clown and give it your all. Like give your, like jump around if you want, feel free to use a voice, all that fun stuff. And so, I did what they said and I gave it my all. I was just jumping all around my room, and I was like very happy with my audition. And I came downstairs and I forget like how thin our walls are, because my dad and my sister Ava, who was also on the show, was very concerned. They're like, are you okay? We heard you like screaming and that just like thuds from your jumping.
Wait, did they know you were auditioning and they did, or did they not know at all and they didn't even bother to come check if you were okay?
Oh, they knew I was auditioning,
Okay.
They didn't know how hard I had to go.
This is really impressive, I gotta say, because your brother and your sister are more of the acting on stage twosome, right?
Yeah, they did theater all throughout high school. I did it for a little bit. I did tech and more just like small things with the theater group, but I never did the big shows. But I've always loved acting, so this is really fun for me to actually like act for like a job.
Could you see them watching you like on the screen? Could you see them or no?
Oh yeah, I could definitely see them.
Okay, were you like side-eyeing a little bit, like, is this going well or not?
Oh, yeah. I would
like, totally be doing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kept looking to the side, but the guy who runs it is he's awesome. But whenever he does the auditions, like he's pretty like stone faced, just want to make sure like not giving you any reaction, because that's the worst part about scare acting, is when you jump out or you give it your all to someone and then they just like stare at you. Just blank face, or they're like, "You don't scare me, bro."
So now you get the job, you go down to the park. There's a makeup that you go through, hair and make. Like, what's the process?
Yeah. So I clock in at 5:00 and my makeup time is at 5:20. And last year, my makeup artist only did it in 10 minutes. Their makeup game is ridiculous. They really knew what they were doing. And my makeup artist this year, I've only known him for only like 3 or 4 days, but he's really cool and he's really great as well. Like, they started adding little strings to my face that make it look like there are veins popping out.
Fun.
So they're like adding all the little different movie effects now, which is fun.
Now, your nightly job, you have free reign through the park. You're in a certain location. You have to do certain things by a certain time. Like, what happens?
They closed the park at 5 to clear all the guests out so all the monsters could go to their places without ruining the show elements for everyone else. So they basically kick everyone out of the park, and once everyone's out of the park, everyone just runs to their section. And I'm in the maze chilling chambers, which is at the other side of the park right by Camp Snoopy. So I run all the way over there, and park opens at 7, and I'm in the underground section of the maze. It's basically like a rundown subway area. Like, me and 3 other guys are dressed in basically denim onesies, and there's little metal tins all around the room and a flipped over train that you could like duck under the windows and scare people as well.
So people are going through this maze, and they have to go through this section, and you are not allowed to touch them, right?
No, it is very hard, because especially if I'm like scaring someone from around the corner, I don't know how close they're going to be to me. So I could be face to face with someone, but as long as I don't touch them, I'm good. But there have been times where I'm like almost touching them.
And you get really funny reactions, I'm sure, because I'm sure you get laughter. I'm sure you get screams. I'm sure you got what you talked to. I was like, bro, that wasn't scary at all. Like that kind of thing.
The best scare you could get, though, is when someone fully drops to the floor. It's happened a couple times, but you have to be like, it has to be a really good scare. I haven't done it yet, but someone else in my room already did it this year, and I was so proud of him. I was like, let's go. I remember last year, I dropped a couple people, but there was someone where I dropped them, and they were in a very close line of like 5 people, and they literally all dominoed down after she fell. And that was like the best scare I could ask for. It was definitely the highlight last year.
Yeah, because you're performing and it feels good. And they want to be there and get scared. Let's point that out too.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes me question the people who just walk through with no expression, because you paid to get scared. So you go to the maze, and once someone scares you, you just act like nothing.
How long does this last for you in a night? Like, what time do you get done?
Oh, my shift is from 5 p.m. to 1:30 in the morning.
That's a lot of scaring time. You get breaks?
Yeah. So last year, we would have a 30-minute break, 45-minute lunch, and another 30-minute break. But this year, they're doing something different where they have an A and a B cast. So I'm in the A cast, and then once the B cast comes in within an hour, they just swap out with us. And so I'm in the maze from 7 to 8 and then 9 to 10. But then I'm back in from 11:30 to 1. And then I have to walk back to get all my makeup off and return my costume and then clock out by 1:30.
Now, is there a secret way for you to get back to where you need to put everything away, or do you got to walk through the park like a Disney character and stay in character?
Yeah, I got to walk through the park and stay in character, which is very funny sometimes because I run into people that I scared in the maze in the past and they just see me and run the opposite direction.
Does anyone try to take a selfie with you or like?
Yeah,
like,
and I
yeah.
love that. I try not to do it when I'm outside because sometimes they could be a little strict. Like there was one time where I had to walk from my maze to the other side of the park because that's where our lunchroom is. So I had to walk over there, and they're very strict about you cannot scare other people in the streets because the streets are for like the best of the best. You have to like really audition and go through a treacherous process before they give you a streets role. It's like for the top tier scarers. So they're like, you cannot scare on the streets because you basically haven't earned it yet.
So overall, this has been a really good experience for you.
Oh my gosh, it is the best job I've ever had. It is, I have to keep reminding myself I'm getting paid to do it because I'm in it, I'm scaring people, I'm having the time of my life. And then it just hits me, I'm like, this is my job.
Okay, so you all know we are now coming at you from our new studio in London, which has its own history of scariness. See Jack the Ripper. But what if we were to go back further than Jack? What if we took you all the way back to dinosaur times? At Lightroom, you can join Damian Lewis on an unforgettable journey as you explore the extraordinary story of dinosaurs from their dominance 66 million years ago to their lasting legacy today. They have taken iconic moments from the Emmy-nominated Apple TV series Prehistoric Planet, and they added brand new content, and the space is incredible because it is all around you. Trust me, I was there. It's a 360-degree immersive experience. It transports you straight into the heart of the prehistoric world. Here is a quick good listen that I recorded myself from inside.
We learn where they lived, not just the place, but the conditions, the climate, the context. We learn how they were built, what they looked like, and how they moved. Bit by bit, we don't just start to understand what they are, but who they are. We begin to see them. And then we can do something extraordinary. We can bring them back to life, here and now. One rapture lies down, another one finds it, and we get a glimpse into our prehistoric planet.
This exhibit is equal parts adventure and educational, all set to an original score by multi-Academy Award winner Hans Zimmer, Anze Roman, and Cara Tal for Bleeding Fingers music on your next trip to London. Discover a world lost in time, and you can feel it come roaring back to life right at you. And now let me just say this. I was not paid a single pence by Lightroom or Kew Gardens to plug them in this here episode. I just wanted to share it with you because it was friggin' cool. We loved it. There was a lot of kids there. There's a lot of kids there. Oh boy, let's not even talk about scary things. Okay, moving on. Moving on, like I said, to that age-old scary question.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Halloween.
Our next good guest has a few ways to answer that question herself. Stephanie Coggins is an Emmy-winning television writer and co-host of Cinema Craptaculus. She, along with Dave and John, were our guests for episode number 45. That's right, go back. Speaking about going back in time with dinosaurs, go back and give that one a listen after you finish with this one. Here comes my really fun conversation about scary movies with Miss Stephanie. One of my favorite people is here now to scare it up with me. And we're going to start with this question. Miss Stephanie, can you please tell us all what is good about a good scare?
Oh, what is good about a good scare? Well, I think that a good scare roots you in your body. it gives you a sense of like a shock or a thrill that resonates throughout you, and that reminds us that we're alive, and it allows us to reconnect with everything that came before us that was ever scared, including our ancestors who are probably being chased by something in the darkness.
Damn, you got deep.
Well, it reminds us that we're animals. It does that.
It's also safe, don't you think? Because we know we're going to be okay at the end of the scare.
Yes. Yes. I think it's good to have like a reminder that, hey, we have it pretty good. We don't have to worry about a boulder falling on us. We don't have to worry about
creating fire, finding an animal in the jungle to kill and eat.
having a saber-toothed tiger attack us.
Right.
I like to go back. I always call out the saber-toothed tigers and the timber wolves because those are like, but you know what? If the timber wolves and the grizzly bears wanted to eat us, they would be in their right. It would be totally their right to do so.
You're so woke. Okay.
I'm actually half asleep.
Sleepy woke. Okay. Now, on this very subject, you are a lover, an aficionado, a compulsive addict of horror and thriller and scary movies.
Yes.
Where did that all start?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I've thought about this a lot myself. But I think that, for me, I'm the type of personality that if something scares me, I try to learn so much about it so that I can be less scared. It doesn't always work with horror. I've gotten pretty close, but thankfully I haven't robbed myself of the atavistic reaction to a loud noise or a rumble or a jump scare. But I think for me, it started when I was a child. I was a toddler, and my parents were really into, as everyone else was, they were really into the Michael Jackson Thriller video. And how we used to have VHS tapes in a society. We would record things off the TV, as you do. VHS, all that stuff, right? And my parents recorded it off the TV, and every once in a while they'd pop it in and we'd watch it. But I think that memory is a little flawed because I believe my parents weren't watching it that much. It was just that it was on a lot because they had recorded Michael Jackson's Thriller on the same tape as Daffy Duck's Fantastic Island. And every time I wanted to watch Daffy Duck's Fantastic Island, I had to see Thriller.
Like a preview.
Like a preview. Like a
like a trailer.
It's a double feature starring Michael Jackson as a goblin, as a zombie.
And a werewolf. He was a lot of
werewolf.
Things.
Yeah, he was a zombie and a werewolf, and then like a weird tiger-eyed guy at the end,
Yeah.
who I guess was the werewolf again. I don't know.
And I want to point something out. It was 14 minutes. It was a little mini movie.
Yeah, and when you're a toddler, when you're preschool, that is a feature film.
I was going to say, that's like 8 hours.
Yeah, so 8 hours of scary Michael Jackson face, scary Michael Jackson werewolf, zombies with scary faces dancing in the streets before I get to Daffy Duck. Because I don't think I knew how to use a VCR. I didn't know that you had to fast forward and then rewind on your own to get to these things. So wherever it was last left off was where I was starting the video. And most of the time it was in somewhere in there with Michael Jackson's Thriller. So do with that information what you will.
That's such a visceral memory, though.
Oh, yeah, it was horrifying. And my parents weren't like monsters or anything. They were just like, oh, well, you fast forward past that, But I was like, but it's still there.
You're so nice. You're like, my parents weren't monsters. They were just bad parents.
They weren't bad. They were just, it was technology. And it was like, like, let's put the tape in. It's the same tape as Donald. And they understood why I was scared of it. They themselves were not scared of it. And they thought that if they weren't scared of it and they talked me out of being scared of it, that it would work, but it didn't work.
Well, it
You know how it is?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I don't have kids, but that's how I imagine when I wasn't beating the crap out of my children that I don't have.
Exactly.
But this led you down a path because I know something about you, which is I think that we both share. We love good horror movies. We love bad horror movies. And we also sort of kind of tolerate but enjoy good, bad ones.
They're good, but they're bad. But they're good because they're bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you get it. You get that there's a thrill there.
Exactly. For me, it is, well, I mean, this is a great segue, I think, but for me, I would say an example of a good, bad movie that I enjoy thoroughly is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. That is my comfort movie when I'm feeling kind of sick and I just need to be in bed all day. I'll pop that on and hope to doze off in the middle of it. Like that is that.
Why?
Because I want to. No, because
No, not the dozing off part. Why is it
No, I know.
comfort? Why is it just like,
because it reminds me of being little. Okay. So the first time I saw this movie, it was like on a, Saturday afternoon on the local TV station where they just, back then they would just throw something on the TV after, the prime times or the Saturday morning cartoons. You would go on for a little while and then about 1 or 2 p.m. they'd have a movie. And in this particular case, it was like a Friday the 13th mini marathon that they'd thrown on. And Part 8 was part of that marathon. And I hadn't watched any of the Jason movies. And then this one came on. I thought it was the most terrifying, the most gory, the goriest, most terrifying movie I'd ever seen up to that point all the way through. Now, mind you, this was edited for broadcast television.
Right.
But I was still affected by it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really scary. And I must have been like 9 or 10 years old, So I was old enough to understand the movie, but still young enough to be like, oh no, there's blood on the window, that kind of thing. That guy's head got knocked off. But actually, by the time that happened, I was deep into the movie. I was like, okay, I'm following this story. These teenagers, they were on a boat and now they're in quote unquote New York.
Well, yes, you gotta clarify. They take in this movie, as I remember it, they come up from like New Orleans or somewhere, don't they?
No, they were at Crystal Lake. They went to high school in the Crystal Lake area and they all
where
graduated.
The hell is that? Where the hell
is that? I don't know. Toronto? Like
And then, but see,
likely.
most of the movie is on that tugboat thing.
Yes.
Before Jason only takes Manhattan for like the last 7 minutes of the movie.
Exactly. They had to get rid of the cast of thousands because it was a graduating class that were on that they were on this ship going to New York. It was their celebration for graduation. And at a certain point, you realize there's only like 6 teenagers left. So he killed like everyone else, like slowly throughout, and nobody said anything. Like it was just comical, really. That's one of the things that sticks with me. I'm like, how did Jason manage to kill all the crew and all of the teenagers? And there was like a graduating class. And I think they even said it was like, there's 100 people on this ship. It's like, how did Jason kill everyone without anyone knowing?
I think it's so interesting though, because it does go back to comfort food in a way, or comfort feeling, or it just, there's a nostalgia there
Yes.
that it brings forth in you. And like, I love, as you know, I'm a giant Jaws fan. And I got the opportunity a few years ago when we were still back in Santa Barbara to go to UCSB and see Carl Gottlieb, who was brought in when Steven Spielberg took over the film, and he rewrote the film. And when he came out, Carl Gottlieb was there and said, okay, they introduced him, we all clapped, and he said, okay, we're going to watch the movie. Mr. Gottlieb, is there anything you want to say before we start the film? Because we're going to talk to you after the film, right? And he said, I only have one thing I'd like to say. He goes, it's actually a question. He said, raise your hand if you've seen this movie before. And only about maybe a fifth of us, and it's a packed house of like a fifth of us raise our hands. And he goes, and who hasn't seen it? And then 3/4, whatever math you want to use, put up their hands because it was all college students. And then Carl Gottlieb goes, oh, this is going to be fun. And we all started laughing. And he goes, and everyone who's seen the movie before, you know what parts are going to be fun.
Yes.
There's that moment where they come out and find Ben, what's his last name's boat?
Yes.
Ben.
Old Ben's boat. Yeah.
Ben, right? Can't think of his last name at the moment. And Richard Dreyfuss goes under the water to get, and he finds the tooth and he's pulling it out. And then you have that great jump scare that happens when Ben's head.
Ben Gardner.
Good one. Excellent. Good one. Ben Gardner's face just like floats up to right in front of Richard. And I'm not watching the screen. I'm watching the crowd. I'm watching the audience. And I loved watching literally 700 students go and jump and then laugh so hard at themselves. And that's what I love about a scary movie. I love when there's a good jump scare and we laugh about it.
Yes.
I hate when the sound happens before the jump scare.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me
spoils it.
Bonkers when it goes
completely spoils it.
Bah! And then the cat jumps out at you and you're like, God, love it. Like, do a good jump scare.
I agree with you. That is not something that I appreciate. Like when it's sort of, I know when it's happening. I mean, I appreciate it if it's going to be too scary. You know what I mean? Like if it's like, I'm already on edge. So I like kind of that audio guide to allow me to close my eyes, you know, that kind of thing. Or it is a cheat. But I love the example. I love the Ben Gardner example because that same thing happened with me. I went to a rooftop screening of Jaws and there were younger people there who hadn't seen it. There was one girl in particular who was sitting in front of me who was so scared during the Ben Gardner scene. And then when Quint meets his demise, she like turns to her friend and goes, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "This is great. This is great." It's like, it's almost like it's like time traveling because I can imagine, I wasn't around, but I can imagine what that would have been like to see that for the first time in the theater when it was, you know, being a, you know, the first summer blockbuster. And I think that's really special.
I was 5 years old when it came out. And of course, I was not allowed to see it.
No.
But 2 or 3 years later, when I was 7 or 8, and HBO, then known as Home Box Office, showed it for the first time. My brother and I were next door at the Rubens house, babysitting their 2 very young kids who were already asleep. And it was Home Box Office. It was 8:00. And he said, "Oh, Jaws is coming on." I'm like, "Okay." And he was like, he is 5 years older than me. He's like 13. And he's like, "Oh my God, it's so scary. You want to watch it?" I'm like, "Yes." And I cannot tell you how many times I ran out of their house onto the front lawn and like had my hands on my knees, doubled over, just breathing for a minute, breathing. Okay, I'm going to go back in and watch a little more. And went back in and watched some more. But I loved it. And I loved that the fine line of just like a good laugh.
Yeah.
The fine
it breaks
line.
the tension.
Yes. And it allows us to experience something scary knowing this is going to be scary and horrible, but it's just a movie and I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such an important thing of like, unlike a lot of things in the world right now, where I'm not
we don't
safe.
know where is the end? Where is the, when are the credits going to roll and we'll all get to go home where it's nice and secure?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's we're from Halloween. It's like everyone's entitled to one good scare.
Yep.
We've been granted 100 scares and they're not good. They're
They don't seem to end. These scares don't seem to end. What is your ultimate, like if someone said, what is the best horror movie of all time? What's your answer?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. I think that I'll have to answer that in two parts. Like, I have to say there's a tie. There's a tie because they satisfy different criteria. The first one that I thought of was The Exorcist, because The Exorcist holds up. It is the mystery of the horror. It kind of gets into the why is this happening without really an answer. It doesn't provide an answer. It just says that evil exists and it will likely prey on the innocent. And it is faith and hope that gets us through that. And I think that dramatically that works for me because, what ends up happening, I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but what ends up happening is a fight between faith. And I don't mean faith in the sense of like Catholicism, because I know there's some priests at work in it, but.
Or Faith Hill, not Faith Hill. Go ahead.
And not Faith Hill. Definitely not Faith Hill. Her and Tim.
They're fine.
They're okay. The faith that I'm talking about is like faith in oneself. It's a spirituality that has nothing to do with the church and has nothing to do with regiment. Even though there are rules involved in the exorcism, I think that at its heart, the movie is about having faith in humanity and having a hope that there's a good in everyone and that we know what to do with that. There's a great, mystery edge to it, but nothing gets solved. It's not like, oh, well, the possession happened because her father murdered this person and this person is now getting revenge. No, it's not like that at all. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You and I'll say this really quickly. You and I have talked about this. I like movies like the Amityville Horror, The House is Evil, The End.
The End.
Why is the house evil? Shut up. No. The house is evil. Just go with it, people.
Just go with it. That's like Christine. Why is the car evil? She's just evil.
She just is. She's having a bad day.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the other one?
Poltergeist.
Oh, fun.
Exactly. I like it because it is fun. I like it because you can sit and it is a great story with great lovable characters. It's propulsive. There's a mystery. There's genuine scares. And it holds up after almost, I'm not going to say 50 years because I'm not 50 yet. But it is holed up after like 45 years, almost. And I think that it's great. And it's even though Tobe Hooper directed it, we know that. We also know that Steven Spielberg likes to have his hands involved, and I'm sure he made suggestions that Tobe followed through with. But I feel like Poltergeist was directed and produced in the way that a TV show might be, where the director is there to give direction to actors and block the scenes and all those things. But the overall vision is the producer's vision.
Yeah, and didn't E.T. come out like a week later?
Yeah. In fact, the lore is that Steven Spielberg had thought that he wanted to make a movie called, what was it called? Crap. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like something like Night Skies. I think that's what it was. Night Skies, unproduced science fiction horror. And he had, in Night Skies, it was a story about little aliens coming and terrorizing a farm family. And instead of doing that one movie, he split them apart in concept and made E.T. about an alien coming and helping a little boy in the suburbs. And then Poltergeist, which is about ghost terrorizing a suburban family. So, and they had gotten pretty far with Night Skies, where they had mock-ups of the aliens and what they would look like. And a lot of them look a little ET-ish. They look a little, they're not quite the final thing, because ET is very cute, right? But like these were very close to that. They look kind of like the aliens, like different type of aliens you would see in Star Wars, but they were never made full. And they were, like they had gotten some models and stuff, but that project never got off the ground. So instead, it was donated to other blooms of inspiration.
And the final question that we usually end the shows with, it's not a question, it's a statement to finish. We usually say, tell me something good. But instead, I'm going to ask you this. Tell me something Halloween good.
Something that's now turned into a good memory, but at the time was very scary, was like the first time I actually got scared by like a scare actor was I was trick-or-treating, and on the way out there was a cardboard box that said, "Do not look in here." And me being a curious kid on Halloween, I was like, there's candy. And so I go in, and someone in a gorilla outfit just jumps out, and it scared me. But then like later on, I was like, that was really fun. I like that. So that was kind of like my scaring wake-up call.
Halloween good. Well, I really liked when I went to visit you last Halloween time and we carved pumpkins. That was really fun. My jack-o'-lantern rotted pretty quickly. It just barely made it to Halloween. But that was a great memory.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Michael, for bringing on the good scares. And happy Halloween to you all. Next time on World Gone Good.
It was something that kind of struck me. She said at the time she was feeling so lonely and that she just wanted to talk to another person. And she said so she could go from feeling invisible to visible.
We are heading back to the UK, to Windsor, to be exact, to meet Abby Murray from the Chatty Cafe Scheme, where they are combating loneliness and isolation. Located in over 900 cafes in Britain and 200 more in Australia, their Chatter and Natter tables, that's what they're called, Chatter and Natter tables, offer a place in cafes, pubs, libraries, hospitals, anywhere that people can sit and chat over a coffee to simply do that. Sit down, chat, talk to a stranger. We'll also be hearing from my pal John Forward, who volunteers his time with this oh-so-good organization. We are all about craving connection right now, am I right? The Chatty Cafe Scheme is making it happen. Can't wait for you to hear this one. Until then, be good.